Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to my other channel, Goodman's other channel. We are keeping this channel a political channel. I have a really important segment on my main channel of almost 300,000 subscribers. Subscribe there as well. Let's get to John Thune, Senate Majority Leader. He's backing and on board. So there's a lot of talk that he's not on board. He's backing. They just tried tonight again. We're one step closer. They're essentially passing it, or they've essentially gotten one step closer to passing it. It's pretty much already passed, or I should say that the trajectory, the momentum is that it's going to pass. So this is President Trump's number one legislative agenda. It's of utmost importance. It's number one on the list of legislation. Senate Majority Leader Thune is navigating. There's intense pressure from President Trump, ladies and gentlemen. It's well known. Let's listen to John Thune. He is on board. Check it out.
We will finish up the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, the latest piece of legislation in Republicans' affordability agenda. And next week, I will be bringing the Save America Act to the floor, and we will be having a full and robust debate. So, Mr. President, what is the Save America Act? It is a package of common sense policies, the kind of common sense policies that should get an automatic yes vote from literally every member of this body. At the core of the Save America Act is the requirement that individuals provide proof of citizenship to register to vote and then show an ID when they go to the polls. In other words, it would require Americans to demonstrate that they're eligible to vote and that they are who they say they are when they go to do so. Not to keep using the word common sense, but it's pretty common sense, right? We require photo ID for a whole lot of things in this country for obvious reasons. Getting on a plane, show your official government-issued photo ID. Go to the doctor, same thing. Provide your government-issued photo ID plus your insurance card. Get hired for a new job. Provide your government-issued photo ID when you start. Mr. President, public libraries ask for a photo ID. In New York City, you have to provide some type of photo ID to get a library card. Baltimore, Maryland, same thing. Washington, D.C., again, photo ID. Mr. President, I'll stop with the list of libraries, but I think we can all agree that if you have to show photo ID and prove where you live to get a library card, it's not too much to ask voters to show ID to vote in federal elections. It takes about 10 seconds and protects the security of our elections. Mr. President, Americans overwhelmingly agree that voters should have to show ID at the polls. 83% of Americans, 83% in an August 2025 poll supported requiring photo ID at the polls for all voters. That includes 71% of Democrats, 76% of Black Americans, 77% of Asian Americans, and 82% of Hispanic Americans. It kind of feels like the only Americans not to support voter ID requirements are Democrats here in Congress. That's right. We're expecting continued full-throated opposition to voter ID and the Save America Act from Senate Democrats, as well as more of the unforgivable rhetoric that Democrats have already been engaging in. The Democrat leader has been calling this bill Jim Crow 2.0, a phrase that is not only deeply irresponsible and insulting to those who actually lived through that dark chapter in our history, but also insults the overwhelming majority of Americans, including minorities, who look at voter ID and see nothing more than common sense. In fact, Mr. President, I can really see only two reasons for Democrats opposing this legislation. Either Democrats are just reflexively opposing this proposal because it originated from Republicans, or Democrats believe that there are, in fact, people out there voting illegally and that it's benefiting Democrats. And they want to keep it going. I honestly cannot think of another reason to oppose something so eminently reasonable as requiring people to demonstrate that they're eligible to vote and that they are who they say they are when they go to the polls. Now, Mr. President, I'll have a lot more to say about the Save America Act next week, including about 2 other common sense measures in the bill that would prevent biological males from competing in women's sports and protect minors from gender transition procedures. 2 other things I should note that are supported by the American people. Mr. President, I can't guarantee an outcome on this legislation.
So he has to say that because he's as the majority leader, he has to always say, well, I can't guarantee an outcome. Well, that's fine. The outcome will take place because Republicans have the majority. Republicans know that they're not going to win in the future. If 8 to 10 million human beings that were allowed into the country by Joe Biden, the Democrats, his administration, potentially influence federal elections. The rebuttal is that, well, it's not an issue. The statistics, the data, and the numbers do not reflect recent indictments of people who are not citizens, for example, voting in elections. They don't reflect the fact that 300,000+ votes, the signature verifications, were not signed by poll workers in one state. There are the data looks only at the immediate recount or audits after, like within a week or 2 weeks after an election. You're not going to find, there's no investigation that will actually discover foul play or wrongdoing linked to bizarre outcomes. 90,000 ballots, for example, when Rick Scott faced Nelson in Florida in 2018. Well, where did those ballots come from? They still haven't found out. The rebuttal is, well, it took a long time. Rick Scott never got access to those ballots, simply saying, well, the county officials said everything is fine. That's why when they had the recount in Arizona from that tech company, and then all you had was a media barrage stating, oh, it's the recount is flawed, city officials debunked it. No, they gave their opinions. They gave their viewpoint. Nothing was debunked because one of the things they discovered was that there were thousands upon thousands of votes in Arizona that the audit from that cyber company did not find to be valid. And in order to verify if indeed those votes were legitimate and valid, they would have to look at the addresses and actually speak to the individuals. Of course, there were privacy concerns and laws. So Democrats have many different layers to hide behind. Look what they did to Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, who actually won his primary. If they're cheating Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, imagine, according to President Trump, what they'll do on a national scale. Okay, the audits initially are not going to find, for example, signature verifications that are missing in terms of protocol for 300,000 plus ballots in Georgia, for example. That came years after 2020, 6 years after 2020, when Tulsi Gabbard and the Federal Bureau of Investigation investigated a polling site. And so what takes place in Arizona and elsewhere is that, or Florida, in 2018, now it's a very red state, or in 2020 with Biden, judges will demand absolute proof that bizarre, completely outlandish behavior, where suddenly boxes of ballots are found days after Election Day, they will demand absolute categorical proof that these boxes of votes are illegitimate. City officials, the media will rally, they will circle the wagons. It will be literally impossible for the Republican candidate that either had the lead or now will be completely outvote, whatever lead that person had will be surpassed by just enough ballots found days after Election Day. And there will be no investigation, and then years later they'll find out, oh, by the way, protocol was breached. Oh, well, just Just a minor issue. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. John Thune is backing the Save America Act. That's all you need to know. Hit subscribe. Thank you.